Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
Financial Survival Network is presented to you by Regal Assets. Buy and sell physical gold and silver through your existing retirement plan, 100% tax-free with Regal Assets. If you want to include physical gold or silver in your existing IRA or old 401k, request your free investment kit, which was recently featured in the Forbes and Smart Money Wall Street Journal magazines. Call toll-free 855-678-6620, 855-678-6620, or visit regalassets.com. It's time for a Monday rant with Ranting Andy Hoffman. And lo and behold, last night there's a raid on silver and gold. And what time does that raid start? 10 o'clock, almost to the minute that the raid 2 weeks ago started, and probably will have similar effect. Andy, these markets, it just makes you shake your head and you just know what's coming.
Well, I did know it's coming. Look, we had 7 or 8 what I call Sunday night sentiment attacks in a row going into mid-August, and that's when the cartel temporarily lost control for about 4 or 6 weeks. We hadn't had one until we got to the 1775 range, and now we've had them 3 weeks in a row again. Of course, we've talked about this before. Essentially, the 1790 to 1800 level represents a massive, massive triple top breakout when it breaches it, going all the way back to last December when they had their Operation PM Annihilation 2 attack, which, if you recall, was right after the ECB lowered interest rates, and you saw a headline, a fake headline, that said that the BOE, the BIS, and the Fed were selling gold to keep the price down. That was at 1790. That was also the price of the leap day violation. And now, of course, this is the third level here. So once we got up here, you've seen an intense amount of cartel shorting to try to keep the prices of gold, and also a triple top breakout in silver would be around 36 or 37 to keep them from breaking out. And we were talking beforehand. It's going to be in my piece that's coming out later this afternoon, showing the numbers of cartel shorts, paper shorts on the COMEX that have gone, that they had right before the last 4, what I call name storm blitzkrieg attacks, the Sunday night paper silver massacre in May of 11, Operation PM Annihilation 1 in September of last year, Part 2 in December, and of course the leap day violation. And incredibly, particularly in silver, it's gold, particularly in silver, they now have 57,800 short contracts. That compares to the high of 52,600 just before the Sunday night massacre, $50 an ounce. And by the way, that was 2 weeks before they actually started covering. They covered 10,000 shorts before silver got to $50 an ounce, meaning it was the only time in the history of this 12-year bull market that the cartel was forced to cover into a rising market. And considering the price is $15 an ounce lower, and they are now 5,000 contracts higher, shows you just how much they will spend, how much paper money they will spend to get Obama reelected.
Yeah, it just comes down to that. And who is it that's trying to get him elected? I mean, I just see that he's alienated a lot of people who were his natural allies, and now we're at the point where this is what they have to resort to. I mean, after that debate performance the other night, as bad as Romney is, for Romney to look like he's soaring and is flowing and really is kind of a hip guy, I figured he was doing cognitive enhancers. I think he popped a Concerta before the debate, and man, he was off to the races, Romney. I never saw him where it looked like he wasn't going to pass out from boredom.
Well, look, he did a good job in debating. I mean, he didn't say a thing, and they're both telling each other that you're lying. But who even knows what they've ever said? They go back on everything they say anyway. But when it comes down to it, look, we talk about the Washington, Wall Street, mainstream media troika, okay? And while Obama, it's not like he's leading it, it's his administration that's part of the system right now. And they work together with the banks. And if they lose, then the banks will work together with Romney's team to try to manipulate markets and steal money. And right now, especially remember, I mean, Obama just re-upped Bernanke for another term. So right now, they're going to do everything they can to keep him in office. And if he loses, then they'll just start all over again when Romney's there.
So it's that simple, huh? And no matter who's in there, it doesn't really matter. It's they're going to work with whomever is there.
It was the same with Bush, and of course, the whole system started when Clinton was there. I mean, that's when the quote strong dollar policy was invented by Rubin and Larry Summers, who were and that's when the Glass-Steagall Act was repealed. So, for all those people who think Clinton is Mr. Innocent, it all started under his term, and it got worse under Bush, and it's worse under Obama, and it'll be worse starting in next year, no matter who's president.
Yeah, so it's kind of making you hope for a crash, huh?
Well, I mean, it's gotten to the point where I try to say I don't even follow the Dow anymore, other than to show people how it's used to try to affect sentiment. But, I mean, theoretically, to believe that the points that we're going to go through are going to not involve major stock market crashes is naive, because no matter how much they want to print money and hold the averages up like they're doing right now, the fact is the companies are doing worse and worse, and the system is going to get worse and worse. So I believe that we have to have crashes down the line. It's just a matter of how and when.
That's really what it comes down to, right? How bad it's going to be and when it's going to happen, but it will happen.
And again, most people, I mean, I don't know how much more I can hammer home the point that retail participation in the stock market is gone. There's no one left. Even the hedge funds, they've been drying up. There's nothing left except the HFT algorithms, which now I just read the other day are over 70% of all trades and 99.9% of all bids and asks. And of course, Goldman Sachs is 20% of all the HFT. So the point is the market doesn't matter anymore anyway. So, I don't even care anymore about quote market crashes. Certainly in Europe, it matters because there is definitely not a PPT. I mean, you see those markets fall hard when there's problems. So, I'm more concerned if I'm looking at stock markets at what's going on in Europe and Asia. And when it comes to the real world, it's, over here, I care only about gold and silver because at some point you're going to have a currency panic, and there's nothing that the powers that be will be able to do about it.
Yeah, there's nothing they'll be able to do to stop it because of everything they're doing now and have been doing for years and years.
Absolutely. I mean, it's again, my motto back in I remember sitting at my desk in somewhere around 2005 and just saying to myself, man, it's worse every single day. And I was talking about gold manipulation, of course, but it's not just that. It's talking about everything we see around us as far as the political system, the economic situation the world is in, the manipulation of financial markets, the social breakdown that we're seeing. And it really gets worse every day. So you can only get exponentially worse before something really, really terrible happens.
Well, that's encouraging, but at least at this point, we can buy gold and silver at somewhat reasonable values and get ready for that eventuality, which no doubt is going to come.
Well, reasonable values might be the biggest understatement I've ever heard because, again, you do the simple math that why gold got to $875 in 1980, and that equates to $15,000 to $20,000 today. And that number goes up every minute that a new dollar is printed or every nanosecond. Or actually, they have a new term now that goes beyond nanosecond because of all the HFT trading. I'll have to look it up and get to you next time on it.
It's like a petaflop or something like that, or a terabit.
Because I think a nanosecond is a millionth of a second?
A billionth.
A billionth. They now have a trillionth of a second that they actually talk about when referring to HFT.
Yeah, well, why am I not surprised, Because we're running at, it used to be like $1 billion was a lot of money. And, like your jaw would drop at $1 billion. And now we've become so immune, you don't even think about it anymore. And then you hear trillions, and trillions just 1,000 billion, big deal. and pretty soon we'll be doing quadrillion, and that's what our we will no longer have $100 bill. We'll have $100 quadrillion bill, and no one will think twice about it because they just don't think about it anyway.
Well, the derivatives number hit a quadrillion several years back, and then according to Sinclair, they changed the classification. So now it's only called 700 trillion when, according to him, it really hasn't changed one bit. And by the way, that term is picosecond.
Pico.
1/1,000,000th of a second.
Pico. I actually remember that from my computer days. And that's what we're dealing with here, picos of a second, because in 1 picosecond, this whole thing will go crashing down. And at that point, you're going to be really, really happy that you own whatever gold and silver you've been able to accumulate, because it will be worth more than its weight in gold, pun intended.
And just think about this, because people like to think in terms of the body is such a complex system. You know, I'm 5'7" or 8, but I got 10 like zillion cells inside of me, all working together. But when you think of a market, like I'm watching the Dow today, again, the whole world is down today. Asia's down, Europe is down 1.5%. The Dow was down a whopping 50 points pre-market, but it's been held between, minus 25 and minus 30 all day long. And the forces that are holding this propaganda average in place in a 5-point narrow range are forces that are being bid and asked in trillionths of 1 second. It takes you, 1 second? That's how long it takes you to you can't even say the word one in 1 second. And they have these bids and asks holding the markets in place in a matter of trillionths of second. So that's the underlying complexity of this Dow average that sits as we talk at minus 27, never moving.
Yeah. Yep. And it becomes harder and harder to keep a system like that afloat, because it requires, you have these decaying systems, and it requires more and more energy to keep these things going. And we're running out of gas. We're running out of the ability to keep them going any more than they have been up to this point. It's just not going to continue on like this. Yeah. The tectonic plates are splitting. I mean, we have after this election, something will have to be resolved in the Middle East. We have the fiscal cliff. We have the debt ceiling, which is going to be hit before year end. You think that we're going to get through that? And what was a big deal a year and a half ago, and now that we're in a recession and the earnings are going down, and the debt is 2 trillion, 2.3 trillion higher, that it's not going to cause a major international incident, especially as the same things are going on across the world? Of course it will. It's just a matter of, will it be November, December, January? Something big is going to happen. I mean, there's just no way that something massive is not going to happen, and probably after the election, because you look at what's being put into holding things in place before the election, and you know how important it is to these guys. It's everything. Yep. And that's the one thing we can't kid ourselves, because when you're analyzing this thing, you have to know that it's everything to them, keeping this house of cards up. They'll do anything that it takes to do it, because this is their reason for living, their power, and their wealth. And on that note, we got to get going. So milesfranklin.com, I assume business is still extremely brisk, and supply is probably tightening at this point, I would imagine. Well, we haven't seen premiums change much, but I have to say, again, that business has been the busiest that we've seen it all year. It started in mid-August. It hasn't tapered off, and we're getting more leads than we've ever had. So it won't take much. And again, you talk about a triple top breakout at, let's say, 36 in silver and 1,800 in gold, and you could bet that business is going to take a huge stair step higher. Yeah, no doubt. So milesfranklin.com, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com, check out the latest international news. We're up to the minute on it. And Andy, we will talk to you next week. You be well. Look forward to it. Take care. You too.